All right, welcome to the Ironwood Gym. Today's episode is going to go over a question that I received through Spotify. Was unable to answer the question on Spotify. I'm not really sure what I'm doing there. So I'm going to just make a video on it because I think it's worthwhile. And so first, I'm going to hit a few things before I get to that question. First is that the lecture series that you can see here on YouTube, but it's probably easier and better to listen to it off of Spotify. The lecture series is my long, typically one topic, very long in nature, 45 minutes to over an hour, covers. And they do get a little bit more in depth depending upon the episode. Some of them get very in depth, but they generally assume, or they don't necessarily require it, but having a better foundational knowledge would definitely be better going into listening to those. So, but check that out. That is on Spotify. Just do a search for Ironwood Strength Show and it should come right up. I'm not sure how many episodes have posted yet. They're a little bit behind what comes out on YouTube. But it's another option for getting to listen to the Ironwood Strength Show. So this question that I got was over one of the episodes, and I had someone ask if they didn't want to squat with a bar. They're uncomfortable squatting with a bar on their back, and they would rather just grab a 45-pound plate, hug it against their chest, and do reps that way. And they asked if that was sufficient or if that was still worthy of replacing the squat. And I'm going to get to that answer here in a second. I'm going to go probably a couple different directions with it. But one of the things that I tend to forget in my head is that not everyone is after performance. And in my perspective, and that's what I generally assume people are on the same page as me, is that most of the videos that I do, my entire mindset, my thought processes revolves around performance. My entire world revolved around performance for a long time. From my own self, first, that I was a strength coach for a number of years, and 16 or 17 years, something. I think it was 17 years that I was a strength coach at the college level. So that involved working with athletes, and that was directly tied into my whole thought process was I don't want injuries, and I want people to be faster, be able to jump higher, and be stronger. So if I can accomplish that, then I have done my job. For myself and people that I have trained with or kind of helped with their training, it was also always about performance. I was a competitive powerlifter for many years, and I helped other competitive powerlifters. I helped them get into competition. I helped them during their competitions. I helped train them, whatever the case may be. But my thought process there, again, revolved around performance. Completely revolved around building maximal strength and what needs to happen to build maximal strength. Okay, but that creates a disconnect when I'm talking to someone that just wants to go to the gym to stay in shape. And so sometimes I need to be reminded that people in that population have a different thought process in their head than what I have in my head. Now, can I help those people? Can I answer questions? Can I give them direction as far as what they need to do? Yes. But I have to remind myself that we are in a different place, and I need to answer it according to their needs, not to my common mindset. Okay, so the question was, and I don't remember if I already stated it or not. I'll repeat it. If I go to the gym, and I know this guy, okay, so I kind of have an idea where he's at mindset wise, at least a little bit. But his question was, if I go to the gym and I don't like putting a bar on my back, I just can't bring myself to do it anymore, can I just grab a 45-pound plate and do reps there and that be worthwhile? So first off, let's look at it like this, okay? If you are a power lifter or a weightlifter or like to train in that manner, or a strongman competitor, a CrossFit competitor, squatting is essentially part of your sport, okay? Weightlifting, not directly, but you receive weights in a deep squat position, so you really do need to squat. Strongman, not all competitions have squatting events, but it goes a long ways for helping you improve the things that you do need to do, okay? Powerlifting, you can't get out of it. You have to be able to squat because it is an actual part of the sport. If you're an athlete, such as a football player, a hockey player, field hockey, tennis, track and field, name the sport, I believe squatting is very beneficial. It is not an absolute necessity. Now, I would make a strong argument for squatting and for utilizing it as a tool, but if it all comes down and an athlete, if I'm personal training that athlete and they refuse to squat, I got to find something else to put in. If the athletic trainer comes to me as a strength coach and says, this person has this injury and they will never squat again, even after they're basically healed up from that injury, that this is the nature of what's going on, they cannot squat. It's my job as a strength coach to figure out what they can do. Okay, so in that case, they could get by without squatting. We will make it work. But I would still recommend squatting if we can do it. Okay, so now let's turn the page a little bit. What about the average person going to the gym? The person that just likes to work out, just wants to be in shape. They don't have performance goals, and squatting definitely doesn't fit into the necessity of life, okay? For most people, I don't need to be able to squat to mow my lawn. I don't need to be able to squat to do my job. I don't need to be able to squat to go grocery shopping, okay? Basic, fundamental things that you do every day. You don't need to be able to squat for that. So do you need to be able to squat for your workouts? No, not really. You don't have to squat. It is not a law that says you can't get a good workout without squatting. So there are alternatives that you can do. Okay, before we get into that, let's tackle the next issue at hand here. All right, so that's the first thing you got to keep in mind though. You don't have to squat. Is squatting a very beneficial exercise? Yes. Do you absolutely have to do it? No. Okay, now let's look at what he wanted to substitute. Grab a 45-pound plate, hug it to your chest, hold it up tight, and squat from there. Okay, so when you're looking at squatting with a plate, and I'm going to throw another one in there because this is a really popular thing. I don't know if it's as popular now as it was about 10 years ago, maybe even sooner than that, maybe 5 years ago. I think maybe that's when it kind of started dying out a little bit. It's still being done, but the goblet squat. Grab a kettlebell, hold it on your chest, or a dumbbell, and hold the top part of the dumbbell and let the bottom part hang down below and squat from there. I really don't like those exercises. And here's why. Okay, first let me give the reason why those things can be good. So I've seen coaches utilize the goblet squat to teach technique. Personally, I don't like to do it that way. Okay, I'm not going to get into that here, but I think that you could make an argument for utilizing the goblet squat to teach technique before you start breaking someone into a barbell. I don't see a huge problem with that. I personally wouldn't do it that way, and I have my reasons for not doing it that way. But if you're utilizing a goblet squat or a squat with a plate on your chest, what are you really accomplishing? Or if you're utilizing it for strength work, or if you're utilizing it to stay in shape, what are you accomplishing by doing it in that nature? If you can squat 225 pounds, just 225, that's not that big of a squat. Now, the beginner that has never lifted weights before, that may be challenging. And I'm talking about a male here. Female, let's say 150 pound squat. If you can do that, female 150, male 225. Is squatting with a 35 pound kettlebell or a 45 pound plate or something light like that, is that going to challenge you enough to where you actually get something out of it? Because if you squat 225 and you go grab a 45 pound plate, you could probably knock out, let's see, 45, I would say probably around 50 reps. But how many are you actually going to do before you stop your sets? 10? 15? You're probably not getting much out of that. If you're capable of doing 50 reps with a weight, but you stop at 10, you're getting nothing out of that other than wasting your time doing an exercise that you could find other means to challenge yourself and get more out of it. Even if your goal is just to go get in shape or to stay in shape, or just that you're really not trying to be super strong, lifting that far below what you could actually do, below your capabilities, isn't doing anything for you. Okay, it's not making you stronger. It's not hardly burning calories at all, because throughout your daily thing, your daily activities, you probably have activities that you burn more calories from. It's definitely not in the cardio realm. So you really have to question, why am I doing this weight? And I've seen this over and over. Hey, you got 3 sets of 10 on this exercise, and they go grab these super light dumbbells that they could do for 30, 40, 50 reps, and they just do it for 10. There's really no advantage to doing that. That goes back to the less weight, more reps thing that is still out there. Well, I don't really like to go heavy. I'm not trying to put a ton of mass on. I just like to do less weight, more reps. Define that for me, and then we'll see if it's actually beneficial or not. Most of the time, what people mean by that is not really that beneficial to their overall fitness. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that's true for everyone, because some people may challenge themselves with higher reps, but you should at least be getting somewhere near your capabilities. It doesn't have to be all the way. I wouldn't expect someone to do 50 reps, and that's the most that they could do. I wouldn't expect to get there to be a 50 rep max. That would be extremely grueling. And if they're just wanting to stay in shape, they certainly don't need to lift to that level. But I do think people need to question why they're doing the things they're doing. If they're in shape, but they continue, or they think they're in shape, but yet they're lifting weights that are so far away from what they could actually do if they push themselves, then is that weight actually contributing to their fitness? My answer is no. Okay, so you would want to challenge yourself a little bit more. So utilizing exercises such as the goblet squat or a squat with a plate on your chest, are probably not the best means of getting in shape or staying in shape. Now, if you had a way of challenging yourself some way with those exercises, maybe you are holding on to a 100-pound dumbbell for a goblet squat or a 100-pound kettlebell, then maybe you are getting something out of that. And I have seen people relatively easily get up over 100 pounds doing a goblet squat. It did not take a lot of effort to get there, so that's why I just feel it's really too easy of an exercise, and that you're utilizing weights that are so light compared to what you could actually handle. You're not getting much out of it. Okay, so let's move on. What could you do to replace squat? Because remember, if you're the general fitness enthusiast, you just like to stay in shape, you like to work out, you like to lift weights, but you don't want to put a bar on your back. How would you replace that? What could you do so you're still working your lower body sufficiently without putting that bar on your back? Okay, so my first options, and some gyms don't have this equipment, but if you do, use it. Okay, so my first option would be a belt squat. Now, a belt squat, you wear a belt that attaches to either a chain or a lever that is down beneath you. You're typically standing on a platform. I do think they make a couple that that don't. There are some that utilize a platform and has a cable coming through the bottom. Some of them have a lever that goes to the machine that's out in front, and you attach the belt to that lever. But in that manner, it would allow you still to squat. It is a little bit different, has a different feel to it. I personally, I like it and hate it. I don't do it. I have done it before. There are reasons that I liked it. There are sometimes, but it just had a different feel to it in the squat. But it did allow me to squat without having to put a bar on my back. And I think it's sufficient for someone that just doesn't want to put a bar on their back or can't put a bar on their back. It is a sufficient replacement. Okay. Is it as good as a squat? Let me get that out of the way. No. Is it as good as squatting with a bar on your back? No. But it is a sufficient replacement. It is something that you can challenge yourself. You can put enough weight on there where you actually are getting something out of it. And again, general fitness, you don't have to squat with a bar on your back. The next thing that I would go to would be either a leg press or a hack squat. We're going to cover the hack squat first. Again, this is going to require a special piece of equipment. Not all gyms have it. Some do. It's probably a little bit more popular than the belt squat, although the belt squat has grown in popularity quite a bit. But some gyms do have a hack squat machine. Some of them have a leg press hack squat combo. But the hack squat would be definitely an alternative. You could train through a sufficient range of motion. You could load it up better, and you're really going to work your quads pretty well with that exercise. Third would be the leg press. Okay, leg press, you're generally laying down with the weight either in front of you or above you. Okay, and you do your leg press from there. That one I used to love doing leg press. I would do it at the end of my squat workouts and just really do a ton of reps. But that is something that you could get sufficient leg development with, definitely. Make sure you're getting good range of motion. Don't just do the top of it. Get down, lower that thing down as low as you can without letting your spine curl up underneath you. Keeping your spine in contact with the bench, but lower that thing, get good range of motion, press and lock it out at the top. Definitely worthwhile for training your legs. Now some of the smaller stuff that definitely will work your legs. Okay, it will work your lower body. So these are in no specific order. It's kind of just as they're coming to me. So lunges. Okay, you just step out, let that back knee drop, drive back. I prefer to alternate legs. Right leg out, right leg back, left leg out, left leg back. You can hold dumbbells at your side as you're doing it. You could put a bar on your back, but if you don't want to put a bar on your back to squat, you probably don't want to put a bar on your back to do lunges. Dumbbells will work sufficiently. You can hold plenty enough weight to get your legs, especially your quads and your glutes, a very good workout doing that. Next would be walking lunges. Okay, basically walk, but let that back leg drop every time. So step out with your right leg, step out with your left leg. If you don't have to, don't put your foot down. Step all the way through to your next step, just like you would when you're walking down the sidewalk. Okay, when you walk down the sidewalk, you're not going to step out with your right leg, bring your left leg to your right leg, and then step with your left leg, and then your right leg to your left leg, and so forth. You're going to step after step. Okay, you're not going to put your feet down. That's better. It's going to include a lot more balance. But if you have to put your leg down, go ahead and do it. That will definitely challenge your quads. It will work your glutes for sure. You'll definitely know you did that the next day. And it will also work your hamstrings to a pretty decent extent. Next would be, and right now I'll give you one more after this one. Next would be step-ups. Again, you can grab dumbbells if you need more weight. I think a lot of people will. Set a box anywhere from probably a little bit below your knee to a little bit above your knee. That's going to actually be pretty high. A little below your knee is probably appropriate for most people. But depending upon how high you set the box will depend on how hard your legs are going to work. Okay? Put one foot up on that box, make sure the heel is on the box, keep it firmly planted, drive up. If you can drive up and balance at the top with your top knee lifted up, okay, instead of bringing the foot to the box, that's great. If you can't balance like that, just bring the other foot up to the box and then lower down. Keep one foot on the box for the entire set, then switch legs. So if you're doing 8 reps per leg, put one foot on the box, do 8 reps, bring it down, put the other foot on the box, do 8 reps there. That's the end of the set. Okay, definitely a good exercise. It really isolates each leg separately. Try not to bounce off that bottom leg. Do all the work with the top leg. And then the last exercise I'm going to give you, and this one's, I'm going to try to explain it, but would be a pistol squat. Okay, so in a pistol squat, you're going to stand on a box, okay, or something that's elevated. Don't stand on a bench with a pad, because if that pad starts to kind of squish around a little bit, you could lose your balance. But you need a firm surface. Stand on that, one leg. The other leg is to the side. You're going to squat down. This is a very challenging exercise. Okay, very challenging. If you haven't done it before, there are ways to progress to doing it. I wouldn't just jump in right away and try to do it. But you are going to lower yourself while you're taking your leg that's down out in front of you. Okay, because as you get lower, that other leg would hit the floor, and you want to keep it out in front so it doesn't hit, that foot doesn't hit the floor. You're going to lower yourself down into a deep squat position and then stand back up. That's a really hard one for me to explain, but when you're in your bottom position, the only thing touching is your foot that you're working with, the leg that you're working with. That foot is the only thing touching the box. The other foot is almost parallel, that leg is almost parallel to the ground, and you will have a angle to your torso because you can't stay straight up and down. You're going to have an angle to your torso. Your hands should be out in front. Unless you're holding dumbbells, then you can hold the dumbbells kind of to your side. Even then, you want them to shift them forward a little bit to counteract your balance or to counteract your mass so you're not losing your balance. Again, that's a tough one to describe without showing it, but you can probably look it up. There's probably plenty of videos of people demonstrating the pistol squat. But those are some options. If you can't squat or don't want to squat, but want to get work in on your lower body, those are definitely some good options. Belt squat, hack squat, leg press. Those are two double leg options. Single leg stuff, lunges, walking lunges, step ups, and the pistol squat. There are plenty more variations out there. You got your Bulgarian deadlifts, Bulgarian squats, single leg box squats, split squats. There's a lot of stuff out there, but I think the more simple you keep it, probably the better. And you can get plenty good work out of the things that I just mentioned here. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I know how to reply to comments that are on YouTube. I just don't know how to do it on Spotify. But questions, if you have questions, leave them in the comments. I will do my best to answer them. I should definitely be able to answer them. Until next time, always be in the pursuit of strength.